Most people don't realize how close American families once came to losing the simple ability to feed themselves. In the early 1930s, when the Great Depression tightened its grip across the United States, millions of households faced a terrifying new reality. Jobs vanished. Banks failed. Grocery money disappeared almost overnight. But something remarkable happened. Across the country, families quietly turned back to plants their grandparents had trusted for generations. Plants that grew without expensive fertilizers. Plants that tolerated drought, poor soil, and neglect. Plants that produced reliable food when money and supply chains failed. These weren't exotic crops. They were practical, resilient, almost stubbornly productive. Yet over time, many of them faded from the modern American garden. Supermarkets made them seem unnecessary. Industrial agriculture replaced them with uniform, commercial varieties. And today, many people have never heard their names. But these plants are still here, still patient, still growing in backyards, fields, and forgotten corners of the land. Today, we're exploring 16 plants that Depression-era families relied on to stay healthy when resources were scarce and survival required ingenuity. Some of them grow faster than modern vegetables. Others come back every single year without replanting. And a few of them were considered almost legendary among rural families for their ability to produce food when almost nothing else would. Because during the hardest years of the Depression, these plants weren't just crops. They were insurance. They were resilience. And the first one might be the most underestimated survival crop in North America. Jerusalem artichoke, scientifically known as Times Helianthus tuberosus *, is actually a species of sunflower. Tall golden blooms stretch toward the sky in late summer, often reaching 8 or even 10 feet high. But the real treasure grows underground. Beneath the soil, the plant produces clusters of knobby tubers packed with carbohydrates, fiber, and minerals. Native American tribes cultivated Jerusalem artichokes long before European settlers arrived. By the time the Great Depression began, many rural families already understood their value. They grew where potatoes struggled. They tolerated poor soil. They survived cold winters. And once planted, they returned every single year. That reliability made them priceless during difficult times. Plant the tubers in early spring in a sunny area with reasonably loose soil. Water them while they establish, but once mature, they require very little care. Harvest begins after the first frost, when the plant's energy retreats underground. It is not a tidy crop, but it is relentless, and relentless food matters. They were insurance. They were resilience. Another plant that quietly supported families during the Depression was something many modern gardeners pull out without a second thought. Lamb's quarters, scientifically called Times Chenopodium album *, was often dismissed as a weed. But experienced gardeners knew better. The leaves resemble spinach and are exceptionally rich in vitamins A and C, calcium, and iron. In fact, nutritionally, it can rival or surpass many cultivated greens. During the Depression, lamb's quarters grew freely along garden edges, in empty fields, and anywhere the soil had been disturbed. Families harvested it by the basketful. It required no planting, no fertilizer, just recognition. Cook the young leaves like spinach or add them to soups and stews. Allow a few plants to mature, and they will reseed themselves naturally. Food that appears year after year. Quietly, without permission. They were insurance. They were resilience. Another plant that carried families through difficult times was amaranth, belonging to the genus Times Amaranthus *. Amaranth is ancien. Civilizations in Central and South America relied on it for thousands of years before European contact. But by the early 20th century, it had largely disappeared from common American gardens. The Depression brought it back. Amaranth grows quickly and tolerates heat, drought, and poor soil better than many grains. Its young leaves can be eaten as greens, while the tiny seeds that form at the top of the plant are rich in protein and essential amino acids. One plant can produce thousands of seeds. Plant amaranth in full sun after the last frost. Give it average soil and moderate water while it establishes. After that, it becomes remarkably self-sufficient. Few crops offer such versatility, leaf, grain, and resilience in harsh conditions. They were insurance. They were resilience. Another plant that Depression-era households depended on for early season nutrition was rhubarb asterisk. Rheum rhabarbarum asterisk. Rhubarb is a perennial. Plant it once and it can produce harvests for decades. In early spring, when winter supplies were nearly gone and gardens had not yet awakened, thick red stalks pushed through the soil. Tart, bright, refreshing. They were often cooked into pies, jams, and preserves. For many families, rhubarb signaled the end of winter scarcity. Plant rhubarb in rich soil, with full sun or partial shade. Give it space to spread. Once established, it requires surprisingly little care. Just remember that the leaves themselves contain oxalic acid and are not eaten. But the stalks? They were one of the first fresh foods after months of stored staples. A small luxury during hard times. They were insurance. They were resilience. Chicory, Cicorium intybus, was another quiet survivor. With its brilliant blue flowers and deep taproot, chicory grows easily along roadsides and fields. During the Depression, its roasted root became a common coffee substitute. When real coffee was expensive or unavailable, chicory offered a familiar bitterness and comforting aroma. But chicory provided more than a beverage. Its young leaves are edible and nutritious. Its deep root breaks compacted soil and pulls minerals upward. Plant chicory in sunny areas with well-drained soil. Once established, it often reseeds naturally, a plant that nourishes both people and the soil itself. They were insurance. They were resilience. Then there was the humble turnip. Brassica rapa may not inspire excitement today, but during the Depression it was valued for one simple reason: speed. Turnips can mature in as little as 6 weeks. Both the root and the leafy greens are edible. That meant 2 harvests from a single crop. Plant turnips in cool seasons, early spring or late summer. They tolerate frost and grow well in loose garden soil with consistent moisture. Quick harvests. Reliable nutrition. Exactly what struggling families needed. Another quiet provider during the Depression was the mulberry tree. The most common native species is Morus rubra asterisk. Mulberries grow fast and produce astonishing quantities of fruit. Deep purple berries appear in early summer. Sweet, juicy, highly nutritious. Children gathered them in buckets. Chickens and livestock fed on fallen fruit. Mulberry trees tolerate heat, humidity, and imperfect soil. Plant one in full sun and provide water during the first year. After that, they often become remarkably self-sufficient. Some trees produce fruit for 50 years or more. A single planting, generations of harvests. Another fascinating plant that Depression-era gardeners valued was the Egyptian walking onion, asterisk, Allium proliferum, asterisk. This onion behaves almost like a living machine. Instead of producing flowers, it forms clusters of small bulbs at the top of its stalks. As the bulbs grow heavier, the stalk bends down until it touches the soil. The bulbs root, and the plant literally walks across the garden. Families appreciated this because it meant continuous onion harvests without replanting. Green shoots in spring. Bulblets later in the season. Plant them in full sun with well-drained soil. After that, they largely care for themselves. A garden that slowly expands its own food supply. Sweet potatoes, asterisk Ipomea batatas asterisk, were another cornerstone of Depression-era survival gardening. Particularly in the American South, sweet potatoes provided enormous nutritional value. They thrive in warm climates and tolerate drought better than many root crops. From a single planted slip, vines spread across the soil, while large tubers develop underground. By autumn, one plant can produce several pounds of food, rich in carbohydrates, vitamin A, and fiber. Plant sweet potatoes in loose soil and full sun. Allow vines space to spread. Harvest before the first frost. They store well when cured properly. Energy stored in the earth itself. Another plant that quietly helped families stay nourished during the Great Depression was purslane asterisk, Portulaca oleracea asterisk. Today, many gardeners pull it out without a second thought, treating it as nothing more than a stubborn weed. But nutritionally, purslane is surprisingly powerful. Its leaves contain omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin C, and a range of antioxidants rarely found in typical garden greens. Even more remarkable is its toughness. Purslane thrives in hot, dry soil where most leafy vegetables struggle to survive. The small, succulent stems and rounded leaves are crisp, slightly tangy, and refreshing. They can be eaten raw in salads or quickly sautéed for a simple, nutritious dish. Once purslane appears in a garden, it often returns every year, nature providing food without effort. Of course, no list of Depression-era survival plants would be complete without the dandelion. Taraxacum officinale. Few plants are more misunderstood. During the 1930s, families regularly harvested dandelion greens from yards and pastures. The leaves are rich in vitamins and minerals. The roots were roasted and used in beverages. Even the flowers were used to make syrups and wines. Dandelions require no cultivation. They grow where they choose. But with the right knowledge, that wild plant becomes a reliable food source. And knowledge was everything. Another plant that endured through difficult winters was kale.